Speaking of, none other than Matt Canavan. We love Matt Canavan, and he will be absolutely tickle pink at the moment. And Chris Bowen may be slightly concerned, although obviously one is in power, one is not. And when it comes to matters of net zero, this is fascinating. Now, we keep being told that Australia doesn't want to do anything about moving away from net zero by 2050. Well, have a look at this. 37% of people agree or strongly agree that the federal coalition should abandon its net zero position. Basically, the same number there in terms of those who disagree or strongly disagree, and then the number that really matters is the grey one on the far end. A quarter of voters have now moved into not sure. So does this mean that the Labor Party doubles down? If you don't believe in net zero, then you don't believe in climate change and you don't believe in modern Australia? Or those who have argued that the coalition can win an argument because there is a significant number of people that are still up in the air. Again, we'll talk to Matt Canavan about that most likely tomorrow. But there is a lot to get to in all of these numbers. Fascinating to see. All right, a couple of other issues. As you know, on the show, we do not shy away from the subject of big Australia. Why? Because Australia, which had 18 million people in it 30 years ago, has now got 28 million people in it now, and it will be on its way to 40 million plus in 30 years from now. Now, people like Andrew Hastie have made it very clear that this is one of those issues they desperately want to talk about. I have criticised when he starts to move into the lane of the strangers in our own country argument, because the reality is that in many electorates, particularly the ones in Sydney and Melbourne, more than half of the people who vote in elections have a parent born overseas. Now, whether that's in the UK or whether it's from India or China, it all changes where you go. That's why, in my case, in my belief, you don't focus in on the identity part of it. You talk about it in terms of numbers, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of issues that are less offensive but just as impactful, which is why the coalition, and remember, Andrew Hastie walked away from the front bench because he, despite the fact that he was the Home Affairs Minister, which is the more senior spokesperson position to the immigration position, he wasn't going to be given the ability to shape the immigration policy. So the person who would, under the current regime inside the Liberal Party, it'll be a bloke called Paul Scar, a senator. Quote, our immigration policy must be in our national interest, but more than that, the debate in relation to immigration policy must be conducted in a way which is also in our national interest. So a bit each way, but you get where they're starting to go. The debate with respect to Australia's immigration policy must be had. It's an important debate, but it must not seek to inflame emotion, but rather engage in good faith with respect to the issues that need to be debated in our national interest. It is in our common interest. I agree completely with all of that. I think you can be a little more specific about the fact that, 800 people are lining up to apply for one rental property in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. 150 people are lining up for rental properties in regional Queensland. There are not enough homes. Yet hundreds of thousands, becomes 500,000, becomes 1 million, becomes 2 million by the end of this government. And does anyone think that our current resourcing is good enough for 2025 numbers, let alone 2027, 2029 and 2040? No.